There is a kind of hunger no food can satisfy. It lives in the silent hours before dawn, when the city sleeps and the soul stirs. It asks no questions, but it aches like a wound. It says, there must be more. More than waking, working, wanting, wasting. More than surviving a life I never chose. More than waiting to die while pretending to live. This is the ache of meaning. And if you feel it, you are already on the path. We were not born just to obey. We were not born to scroll our way to sleep. We were not born to be filled with noise, with praise, with plans. We were born for something sacred, and we've forgotten. But even forgetting is part of the path. Even getting lost is part of returning. The Buddha did not speak of salvation. He spoke of liberation, not from the world, but from illusion. Not from pain, but from the craving that clings to it. Not from death, but from the fear of living without knowing why. We search for something to live for, and we discover we are searching for something worthy enough to die for. And that too is the same thing. Because when you find the truth, you will never fear death again. Because truth does not die, only illusions. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, not to escape life, but to see it clearly. And when he opened his eyes, he did not find answers, he found silence. And in that silence, the river of truth flowed through him, quiet, unstoppable, complete. This is not a religion. This is the great undoing. The shedding of masks, the crumbling of identities, the burning of every false story that ever told you who you are. What remains when all else is gone is what is worth living for. The modern world teaches us to build ourselves, profiles, brands, futures. But the way of the awakened one is not to build, but to burn. Burn what is not real. Burn what is borrowed. Burn what is afraid. Because only in the fire does the diamond emerge. Have you noticed? Even the stars had to collapse to shine. The Buddha called it dukkha, the sorrow that lives in all things. Not as a punishment, not as a flaw, but as a doorway. The wound is not the enemy. The wound is the teacher. And the pain we run from is the path we walk. So stop. Stop chasing, fixing, numbing, running. Sit. Breathe. Feel the hunger. That hollow place inside you. It's not a defect. It's a drumbeat calling you home. It is saying, there is something more, and it is not far. It is here. It is now. But to see it, you must die before you die. Let the ego fall. Let the story end. Let the one who always needs to be right become quiet. You are not your name, not your job, not your trauma, not your past. You are the awareness watching it all unfold. And when you stop clinging to who you think you are, you begin to remember what you've always been. Still, spacious, unbreakable, a lotus blooming from the mud, a flame untouched by the wind, a silence deeper than all the noise in the world. You do not need to become more. You need to become less. Less distracted, less certain, less full of yourself. Because the less you are, the more the truth can live through you. Look at the river. It does not hold. It does not grasp. It flows. This is the way. Let your love flow. Let your grief flow. Let your life flow. Do not dam it with pride. Do not freeze it with fear. Let it move through you, and you will become what cannot be stopped. You are not here to impress. You are not here to win. You are here to remember. Remember the breath, the sacred now, the weightless presence behind every passing thing. When you breathe with full attention, you are no longer surviving. You are alive. And that is enough. Not someday. Not when you're perfect. Not after the world gives you permission. Now, here. This moment, naked, imperfect, fleeting, is the gate. Will you enter? The path is not in the sky. It is in the heart. And the heart does not speak in words. It speaks in stillness. in presence, in the quiet courage to feel without numbing, to love without holding, to act without attachment, to serve without needing to be seen. This is the heart of a warrior, not one who fights to win, but one who surrenders completely to what is true. Because truth is not something you own, it is something that owns you. And once it grips your soul, you will never be the same. Not softer, not louder, but deep. You will walk into rooms and carry the weight of mountains. You will speak less and mean more. You will glow with a light that comes from letting go. You will find what you were looking for, not by chasing it, but by being still long enough to let it find you. There is a power in stillness, not the stillness of frozen things, but the stillness of a mountain that has seen 1,000 storms and does not flinch. When you stop moving out of fear and start being out of truth, you become untouchable, not invincible, but awake. And what is awakened can never again be fooled by shadows. The Buddha taught that all things arise and pass. All things. Your pain, your joy, your lover's smile, your body, this breath, nothing lasts. Not because life is cruel, but because life is alive, and the living cannot be captured. So we suffer, not because things end, but because we thought they wouldn't. We suffer because we cling to names, to status, to approval, to futures we imagined. We wrap our hearts around smoke and weep when the wind moves. But the awakened one does not hold the wind. They breathe it. They become it. Can you see? Death is not the enemy. Fear is not the sharp fear of falling, but the slow, invisible fear of never truly living. We build entire lives around this fear. Safe jobs, safe thoughts, safe identities. But safety is not freedom. Comfort is not clarity. And if you want to be free, you must stop asking, will this make me safe? And begin asking, will this make me true? Because truth does not coddle you. It does not flatter you. It burns you clean. It breaks what is false. It kills what is dead, so that something real can be born. We die many deaths in this life. The death of childhood, the death of dreams, the death of versions of ourselves we once called sacred. But there is one death that frees you, the death of the one who resists. When that one dies, peace begins, because resistance is the birthplace of suffering. Wanting things to be other than they are is the root of all pain. You say, this shouldn't have happened, and so you suffer. You say, she should love me back, and so you suffer. You say, I should be further by now, and so you suffer. But life does not care about your shoulds. Life is, and the wise one stops arguing with reality and begins bowing to it, not in defeat, but in reverence. Because the moment you say yes to what is, fully, the war ends, and in the silence that follows, you hear something ancient, the sound of moving through you, like water over stone. The end of resistance is not the end of change. It is the beginning of real change. Because now, you are no longer fighting the river. You are flowing with it. And where it takes you is always home. The ego fears this. Because the ego is made of control. It feeds on stories. I am this. I am not that. I must become. But what you truly are is not a story. It is silence. It is spaciousness. It is the clear sky behind every cloud. So the work is not to become anything. The work is to become nothing. To dissolve the mask until only presence remains. And presence is not passive. It is not lazy. It is not naive. Presence is the fiercest thing in the world. Because when you are truly present, you cannot be manipulated. Not by fear, not by desire, not by praise or shame or time. You become the mirror in which all things reveal themselves and nothing sticks. This is freedom, to walk through fire and not burn, to feel grief and not drown, to face death and not tremble, not because you are hard, but because you are hollow, like bamboo, like the flute through which the universe sings. This is not poetry, this is practice. Every breath is a doorway, every step is a return, every moment an invitation to wake up. And yet we sleep. We sleep with open eyes. We sleep while talking, earning, loving. Not because we are weak, but because we have forgotten the quiet place beneath all the doing, forgotten that the most powerful truths are the simplest ones. You will die. You do not know when, and you cannot take anything with you but the state of your heart. So what is worth your time? What is worth your life? You were not born to build a cage of opinions. You were born to know the sky, to walk barefoot across the inner desert and find the well that never dries. And when you drink from it, you do not become more, you become light. Not the light that blinds, but the light that sees. And when you see truly, you cannot harm. Not because you follow rules, but because you feel the sacred in all things. The spider, the enemy, the child, the stranger. You see yourself in every face, and you bow, not in worship, but in recognition. Compassion is not pity, it is clarity. To see the illusion of separation dissolve like mist in the morning sun. To look into the eyes of someone who has hurt you and say, I see your suffering too. Not because you are holy, but because you are whole. And the whole does not exclude. It includes even the pain, even the past, even the ones who left you. Because nothing real can be left behind. It all returns, it all belongs, even you. We spend our lives trying to be seen as good, seen as successful, seen as worthy. But the truth is, you were seen before you ever did a thing. You were born seen by the sky, by the earth, by the stillness that holds all things. You do not need the world to applaud you. You need to remember yourself. This is the forgetting we are here to undo. Not the forgetting of facts, but of essence, of the sacred breath you carry in your chest, of the silent watcher behind your eyes, of the ancient knowing that lives beneath your name. The Buddha did not say, go out and become somebody. He said, know yourself, not the surface self, but the vast, formless, timeless, that exists whether the world praises you or forgets you. This self does not strive. It does not compare. It simply is, like a tree, like a mountain, like a still lake holding the moon. And yet, we rush. We fill every silence with noise, every gap with distraction. We fear the stillness, because in the stillness, we are forced to meet what we've hidden. But that is exactly where the treasure lies. The truth is not waiting in some far-off future. It is buried beneath the discomfort you refuse to feel. It is hiding in the silence you keep running from. It is woven into the grief you won't allow yourself to touch. Because the soul does not grow through comfort. It grows through meeting what is real, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. So do not pray for an easy path. Pray for the strength to walk the true one. Do not pray to escape your suffering. Pray to understand it, to sit with it, to breathe into it, to learn from it what the mind could never teach. This is how warriors are made, not by slaying dragons, but by sitting quietly with their wounds, not by conquering the world, but by conquering the self that needs to conquer. Not by standing above others, but by kneeling humbly beside their pain. Because the one who truly sees suffering cannot look away. And in that gaze, healing begins. Compassion is not a concept. It is a force, a fire that burns away walls. That softens what was hard. That dissolves me and them into one breath. And from that breath, right action is born. Not reaction. not vengeance, not performance, but action rooted in love, rooted in wisdom, rooted in something deeper than the ego can reach. When you act from this place, even silence becomes a revolution. Even a single kind word can shift the course of a life, because the energy behind it is pure, and purity is power. The world will tell you that power comes from control, from domination, from always knowing, from never breaking. But the Buddha's power was not in what he controlled. It was in what he released. He let go of kingdoms. He let go of comfort. He let go of identity. And in doing so, he became vast. So vast that even 2,000 years later, his stillness still speaks. This is the paradox. The more you let go, the more you receive. The more you empty, the more you become full. The more you die to the false, the more the real can live in you. So let the false die. Let the masks crack. Let the old stories crumble. Let the idea of who you thought you were fall into silence. You are not your reputation. You are not your resume. You are not the one who always needs to be okay. You are the silence beneath the scream, the watcher behind the storm, the infinite wrapped in human skin. And when you live from that place, you no longer chase meaning. You become it. You no longer ask, what will make me important? You ask, what will make me real? And being real is the rarest thing in the world, because it requires the death of everything that was built on fear. You must die to rise. You must be emptied to be filled. You must walk through the fire, not to be consumed, but to be revealed. There is no other way. The teachings are not maps. They are mirrors. They do not tell you where to go. They show you who you are. When all the going stops, you are not here to find the path. You are the path. Every breath, every wound, every moment of grace or grief, all of it is the way. And when you stop trying to escape it, you begin to trust it. Even the detours, even the darkness, even the heartbreak that brought you to your knees. Especially that, because the soul does not awake on mountaintops. It awakens in the ruins. It awakens when everything you thought mattered burns to ash, and you sit in the silence, not knowing who you are, but knowing, finally, what you are not. You are not your failures. You are not your titles. You are not the voice in your head that says you'll never be enough. You are the awareness that hears that voice and does not believe it. You are the space in which that voice echoes and eventually fades. And in that space is peace. Not the peace of escape, but the peace of presence, of knowing you are no longer pretending, that you are finally living for something that will outlive you. What is it that will outlive you? Not your wealth, not your opinions, not your plans. What survives is not the noise you made, but the silence you touched. The way you looked at someone and saw their pain before they spoke. The way you stayed kind when no one was watching. The way you softened when you could have hardened. This is what remains, and this is what makes a life sacred. To live in such a way that every breath is an offering, not to a god, but to the truth that beats through all things. That is devotion, and devotion is not weakness. It is the fiercest fire there is. Because when you are truly devoted to truth, to love, to awakening, you will give everything. Your comfort, your image, your certainty, your illusion. You will die to the world 1,000 times, if it means being reborn in what is real. Because once you have tasted what is real, nothing else satisfies. And so, you walk a different path. Not a better one, but a deeper one. One with fewer answers, but more presence. One with less noise, and more listening. You walk not to arrive, but to remember. You speak not to convince, but to reflect. You live not to be seen, but to see. This is what it means to find something to live and die for. Not a flag, not a cause, not a promise of eternal pleasure, but this, the eternal truth, that all things arise and pass, and what matters is how awake you are while they do, how gently you hold them, how freely you let them go, how deeply you love without needing to possess. And when death comes, as it will, you do not fight it. You greet it like an old friend, because you've been dying every day to what is false. You've been letting go all along. You've been preparing not for the end, but for the return. The return to what you always were, before the name, before the fear, before the story. And in that final breath, you smile. Not because you won, but because you remembered that life was never about becoming. It was about becoming clear. That the purpose was not to escape the fire, but to become it. To burn so brightly with truth that everything false in you turned to ash. And from that ash, something eternal rises. Not a legacy, not an empire, but a silence, a stillness, a presence that lingers like the scent of rain long after the storm has passed. You do not need to fear death when you have truly lived. And you do not need to fear life when you have truly awakened. You are the mountain. You are the river. You are the breath and the one who watches it. You are what remains when everything else falls away. You are what is worth dying for. You are what is worth living for. So breathe, but begin again and again and again until there is no one left to awaken, only the awakened. Until there is no self left to protect, only the sacred. Until your every word is a prayer, your every step a temple, your every moment a flame. The flame of one who has remembered, and in that remembering found peace. The kind of peace that does not depend on outcomes. The kind of peace that cannot be taken because it was never given. It was always here, beneath the noise, beneath the ache, beneath the reaching. It waited in silence until you were quiet enough to hear it. And now that you've heard it, what will you do? Will you go back to the comfort of forgetting? Or will you walk forward with your eyes open, your heart bare? There is no right choice, only the one that is true, and only you can know it. The Buddha did not give commandments. He gave questions, not to control you, but to free you, to turn your gaze inward, to turn your silence into a mirror, to remind you that the path is not found in books, but in your own trembling heart. So let that heart tremble. Let it break, if it must. Let it open, if it dares. Because an open heart is the doorway to the divine, not above, not beyond, but here, in the sound of the wind, in the warmth of your tea, in the tears you hide, in the face of the one you love and the one you hate. The sacred is not far. It never was. It is this breath, this moment, this chance to bow, not in shame, but in reverence. You made it to this point, to this knowing. You've walked through fire. You've carried grief. You've fallen more times than you can count. And yet, you are still here, still breathing, still asking, still aching to live for something that is worth dying for. So listen, not to me, not to the world, but to the still, small voice inside your chest. The one that whispers when all others go quiet. The one that says, you are not broken. You are being refined. You are not lost. You are being led. You are not too late. You are exactly on time. And this moment of stillness, of clarity, of breath, is the beginning of the life you are always meant to live. In truth, in peace, in silence, and in love.